Today I'm going to be installing this optics reverse camera into my 2005 Toyota Corolla XRS. Now this backup camera is obviously a universal kit. It is not specifically for this car, but this video will be specifically for this car. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get this thing unboxed. So here's just a bundle of wires, nothing too special, but we're definitely gonna need it, obviously. This kit also includes this little drill bit or saw or whatever, looks like this, and this is going to help us drill into the car so we can mount the camera. And then in here is the actual camera. There it is. And it looks quite like a factory camera, that's why I went with this. It doesn't really stick out. So I think this looks really good. I'm very excited to get this all installed. Let's see, okay, so here on the wiring harness, this plugs into this. Let's see, like this, yep, like that. And then we've got a couple wires here, and these are going to need to be tapped into the reverse lights, so that way the camera is not always going to be on. When the reverse light activates, it'll come through here and then turn on the camera. And then the rest of this wiring harness just goes up to the front of the car. So, of course, to install a backup camera, you need a screen to display it on. So this is my Boss BV900 ACP, which I installed a few months ago. So if you have the stock radio here and you need a screen to hook up the backup camera to, you can click this video right up here to see me install this. But if you've already got a screen, then let's continue. So first things first, I've got this carpet here on the trunk, which I'm gonna need to remove in order to access all the wires and everything. So let's get to that. So with the carpet off, now I can see everything under here. I have a couple of bolts and clips to take out so that I can remove this panel right here. So we've got the panel off. This makes it a lot easier to drill the hole for the backup camera. Now there's a few different spots I'm gonna put it. Most of you will probably put it in the middle, but I want to use the middle for something which I will reveal later. So I'm thinking either this side or this side. Now just looking here, I think it makes sense to put it on the left side here. So when the camera's mounted here, because I'd rather not drill another hole here, what I can do is pull this clip off and run the wire through this hole right here. That way I don't have to drill another one. I'm fine taking this clip off because there's another one here, there's a screw here, and there's two screws here. So losing one clip and replacing it with a wire, I'm not concerned about this coming off or anything because there's still screws here and this main clip here in the middle. But right now, before I do anything, this has probably never been cleaned since 2005, since this car was built. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up just to make it look not so filthy. So I've got the panel here, I've got the drill here with the included drill bit. I was thinking about putting the camera right here and drilling the hole here, but I don't think it's going to work very well because this is in the way. Obviously, I'm going to take the clip out. I said I wasn't going to use it again, but I still have all of this plastic here. So I don't think this is going to be the best spot for it. At the same time, though, this almost looks like the perfect size for that. Okay, now I've got to do some reconsidering. Plus, if I put it here, then the hole for where this clip was is going to be right behind the camera and the wire can just go straight through it. Versus if I put the camera here, I've got to route the wire just slightly over here and then through the trunk. So after thinking out loud there, I'm going to drill the hole here. So this is what I was expecting to happen, so I've run into this here, but I'm pretty sure I can just drill through it and it'll be good. So that looks pretty good. It's pretty centered. It's a little more to this side I was hoping for. I was hoping for exact middle, but this should be close enough. So let's feed the wire through the hole. Let's see how well this is going to work. Let's make sure the camera faces like this, away from the badge, and it'll just clip in. Okay, so it looks like I'm gonna have to drill it out a little more. I just assumed that the included bit would be the correct size, but it looks like it's still a little bit too small. So I took a normal drill bit and just started carving the inside of the hole, and now the backup camera is going in. So it's almost there. Just have to make the final push, and there it is. And I've cleaned up the inside here, so all of the housing where this clip used to be is now gone, and in its place is just the camera. So I've already made sure the camera is facing the right direction. This is the outside. We obviously want the camera to be facing the outside and not towards the trunk. All right, now it's time to put the panel back. So obviously we have no more clip here. We just have this hole already in here, and the wire can just slide through here super nicely. And let's see, moment of truth. Is the camera going to interfere with this light here? Let's see. Nope, that's good. It's looking good. Now we just have to put these 3 screws back in. So this is what it looks like on the outside of the car, and that looks so good. I mean, obviously it's a backup camera, but this looks like it could come from the factory like this. I mean, maybe the fitment here could be fixed up a little bit, but overall, that looks really good. And then if you close it all the way and you're just looking at this, it doesn't look like there's any camera there at all. So I really do like that. I'm glad I put it here too. It's almost like the perfect spot to put a camera. It's a little bit indented, so it's not gonna get in the way. I definitely am glad I picked this spot over this. If I had picked this spot, the camera would be a little bit more visible, but now it looks like there's nothing there. So we have the camera in here. Now it's time to come under here and do some wiring. So this is the cover for the reverse light. I'm just gonna pull that out, and then I'm just going to unplug this because I am going to need access to this. So we have the main wiring harness here. So this plugs into the camera. There we go. And now this is where we get to do some wiring. So here on the wiring harness, we have a red wire and we have a black wire, and that's going to correspond with the red wire on the harness, and then the white and black wire. Red for power, black for ground. So just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to cut away some of this so I can expose more of the wire. And now we can get to it. So the wire that's come with the camera, which you're having a real hard time seeing because it's not focused, I'm gonna cut a little bit more of the wiring sheath or whatever away so I can expose a little bit more wire. And then we can modify the wiring here. So I've exposed some more wire. Now it's time to modify the wiring harness here. So when modifying the wires here, what some people do is take some scissors and then trim a little bit just to cut the sheath away so they can attach the new wire. But I think it's just gonna be a little easier to just cut it off. I'm just gonna take my wire strippers and then we can expose the wire. There it is. And then I'm gonna do the same for this cutoff harness here as well. So now I've got exposed wire here, I've got exposed wire here, and I have exposed wire here. So now I'm just gonna start matching. So red and red go together. Just crimp together like that. Now you should definitely always solder. It will make your connections last much longer, but I don't have any solder at the minute. So I'm just gonna cover it with electrical tape until I get some, and then I can go ahead and solder that. As long as it's connected, I can still use it, so it'll be fine. And now just wrap it up with electrical tape. And as you probably guessed, the ground wires are going to get the same treatment. and the connection looks strong. Even without soldering, it's unlikely for this to fail. The connections have been made. Now I'm just going to plug in the connector again. And now it is time to run the wiring harness from the trunk here to the front of the car. So I want this to be as clean of an installation as I can possibly get. So I'm going to run the wire over here and then just like this. And it's going to follow the stock wiring harness here. Alrighty, so this is what it's gonna look like. So I've got a lot of extra wiring here. I'm just gonna leave this here for now and move this in a bit, because I'm gonna run this to the front of the car and then test it, and if something doesn't work, I still need to have access to all of this. So this is the factory wiring harness that I'm following. It goes under here and then behind the carpet and then to the front of the car. It's pretty difficult to film in the trunk, that's why I'm explaining all of this now. I'm just following this, and this wiring harness runs behind the seat here, right here. It's underneath this as well, and then once it gets here, I'm gonna run it under the dashboard up to my head unit here, which I'm gonna have to pull this out as well to get access to the wires behind it. Well, I'm past the difficult part now, so here is the wire. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is an XRS model, so the rear seats don't fold down, which makes it a little bit more difficult than say with the Corolla LE, where the seats do fold down. So what I did was move the carpet away and then push the wire all the way right up to the seat. And then because the seat is not necessarily a solid, piece, it's a seat, so obviously it's a little cushiony. I was able to move it a little bit, just enough to where my hand could get under there, grab the wire, and pull it through. I think that's a lot easier than taking out the seat. The seat is held down by a few things, so just feeding it through there, way easier than taking the whole thing off. And now I can keep routing the wire all the way to the front. So we are inside the car now. I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart and pull the head unit out so I'm able to get to all the wires behind it. So usually to get to the head unit, you've got to take all of this apart. You got to take the shifter down here, which you can't see. You have to take that plastic off. You got to take the climate control off. But I'm going to cheat a little bit because this isn't bolted in, it's just clips. So if I'm really careful, I can probably just pull this out. Okay, so I've got this out. It's not quite what I was going for, but it's a start. And the rest of it is coming out. There it is. And now there's 4 bolts back here. They might be slightly more difficult to reach because I didn't take this off. That's usually why you're supposed to take off the climate control. Now it's a little bit more difficult to get to these bolts, but should still be doable. Here we are. So this is for rear camera input, and then there should be another small wire here for the rear camera as well. So I've got my 2 wires, the rear camera power and the rear camera input. So I've got everything connected. Now before I put the screws in and put everything back, I'm going to test the unit and test to see if the camera is working. So I'm going to go into my settings here and then camera, verify rear camera is turned on, power is turned on. I'm going to assume that the camera is supposed to automatically come on. Let's see. There is nothing. Okay, let's see. So camera if I click camera, okay, so it does work. I wonder if it just doesn't come on automatically or something. Maybe if I'm in streaming? No, okay. So, interesting. I wonder if in settings, rear camera view, I wonder if that turns it on. It's in reverse now, and I'm not seeing it. I wonder if that's just how this unit is. It just doesn't turn on automatically, which kind of sucks because then there was really no reason for me to tap into the reverse lights at all, because the reverse lights don't tell it to turn on. And here we go, here's the finished product. So, carpet is back, all the plastic is back, and the wire I've actually tucked inside the stock plastic covering here, and then use new electrical tape around where the stock electrical tape was, and just ran it down with this wiring harness underneath the carpet. So it looks very clean. It doesn't look like there's really much of anything here. I mean, you can see this here, and that's about the only indication that this is not a factory job. And there's the camera, just like that. So this job is complete. Very happy with that. From here, you can, like I said, you can't even see the camera right now. You've got to come down here to see it. So that is the camera fully installed. I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting to try and figure out why it doesn't automatically turn on when I put it into reverse. I checked all the connections and they're all good. They're all connected to where they're supposed to be connected. Weirdly enough, the camera still just doesn't turn on by itself when I put it in reverse. So I'm gonna have to figure out what that's about. So I finally figured it out. It took me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little embarrassed at how long it took me to actually figure this out. When I originally wired it up here, I wired it to constant power. So there's two wires for reverse. One is reverse input, which you can see right now, and that's what I have connected right now. And the other is reverse power, and that's constant power. So I think technically both are supposed to be connected, but I only had one wire coming off of that harness from the RCV connector, or whatever you call that yellow connector. So because I only had one, I should be connecting it to reverse input instead of reverse power. When I had it connected to reverse power, then I could access the camera without going into reverse. And as you can see right now, because I'm not in reverse, there's no signal detected. So now when I have it to input instead of power, when I put it into reverse, and there it is. And it says check surroundings before proceeding. Yep. So it's all good. And I have the parking lines here too. It is now officially done. All that's left for me to do is just put everything back together, and then we're sorted. And here we go, everything is put back together, the trunk is closed, and now it is time to do one final test of the reverse camera. And I've got Apple CarPlay up, so let's go ahead, put it into reverse. And there it is. It is now automatically turning on. And then, boop, now it's on reverse. Now it's back to Apple CarPlay. Put it back into reverse. And the backup camera is on. I can also double check. One reverse light on, one reverse light on. So the reverse lights are working. And then just to make sure there's no electrical problem, now it's in neutral and the reverse lights are off. So there we go, the project has been finished. And with that, this install is now finished. If you're interested in installing a backup camera yourself, hopefully you found this video helpful, and hopefully you can learn from my mistake as well, connecting to the wrong wire up at my head unit. If you're interested in this camera specifically, I'll have a link to it in the description down below for you to check it out. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.